I hear it from people with every sort of skin color. This isn't something that breaks along color lines.
All right.
It seems in my conversations with people, there's something about engaging in this discussion that's so scary, we just don't want to go there. We just don't want to go there. We don't know what to say about it. And sometimes we have such deep feelings about it, we're afraid what we'll actually say to people about it, right? Like, oh, I feel so strongly about it. I'm going to just say it, and then I'm going to scare everybody. It's confusing, and it's terrifying. We're even afraid to talk with someone that we love about it, because we're afraid we may not love them at the end of the conversation. Anybody going on a family vacation? You know, a few weeks ago, right on the heels of that week where we had all those horrific killings, unarmed men being killed, and police officers being killed, and people in the nightclub being killed, it was just overwhelming for us, wasn't it? And we just didn't know what to do with it. And I met with a friend of mine, and she's a new mom, and we were talking about that, and then she shared with me, and she said, I so desperately wanted to do something in response to last week, but I just don't know what to do. I really want to talk to my dad, but I don't know what to say. And so I haven't talked to him. In fact, I haven't talked to anybody. She wanted to talk to her dad. She's a black woman. And she couldn't talk to her dad. She was afraid to hear what he might say. She was afraid she might dredge up something too painful for him. She was afraid of finding something out that she couldn't bear to know. And isn't that the truth for all of us? We're just afraid of what maybe will come out. And we just don't know where people are at in this discussion. And I think really as white people, we tend to think that all black people know how to have this discussion. Right? Oh, well, Pastor Harvey, you're black. Andrea, you're black. You know how to talk about race all the time, don't you? No. No. We presume you're always talking about race in your families, in your jobs, in your churches, with your friends, around the dinner table. Guess what? You're not. You're not experts. I'm no expert either. We're not experts at this. Some type of discussion is just too painful to have. And May touched on this last Sunday when she shared. Many of us are experiencing these racial tensions every day, and we don't know how to deal with it either. We don't know how to deal with it either. The truth is we're all at a loss in this discussion. So my question is here, as Christians, can we actually say, I don't want to do it? I don't know. Let's look at Scripture, shall we? Let's read out of Romans 12, 9 through 18. Now, as you read this, I want you to read this Scripture through the lens of racial reconciliation. So put that lens on, overlay it on this Scripture, and then let's read it. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If it is possible, we get a different reading and we get a different understanding of yesterday's Jesus telling how to do it today. That's what we get. So do we as Christians have a right to say, I don't want to? Because when I read, be devoted to one another in love, that changes the racial dynamic. It changes it. When I read, honor one another above yourselves, that changes the racial dynamic. When I read, share with the Lord's people who are in need, that changes the racial dynamic. It doesn't mean I get to choose who I want to serve in need. That's not what the scripture says. It says share with those in need. Don't judge the need. Meet the need. Don't judge it.
All right.
Meet it. When I read, mourn with those who mourn, there's a period after that verse. There is a period after that verse. You don't get to choose what you mourn. Somebody died, we should be in mourning. That is something God created. And that life is no more. We mourn, period. When I read, bless those who persecute you, that changes the racial dynamic. You know, the early church, the first Christians, were comprised of Jews and everybody else. Everybody else. All sorts of people from all sorts of races and ethnicities and backgrounds and culture. They were all there together in the early church. And the Jews who had been an impressed people, most of the Jews were leading those churches. So there was a flip in the power dynamic of the early church, where the Jews had been under, and now they were over.
That's true.
This is the kingdom that we bought into. We're going to flip it. We're going to flip it. That's the kingdom we belong to. And when I read, live in harmony with one another, well, that changes the racial dynamic too. So when that young woman stood up last Sunday and said, I'm always in the guitar section. I live here all the time. I never come down from the guitar section. When she said that, she was also saying at the same time, stay up here with me. Stay with me in the guitar section. And you know what? There can be no harmony while somebody's all alone in the guitar section. It can't happen. That's why we take our cues on racial reconciliation, not from what society says is right, not from what the government says is right, not from what the political candidates say is right, and not from what my own little hard heart says is right. I don't take my cue from myself. My cue is no good. That's not the cue we take. No, we take our cues about racial reconciliation right from the text of the Bible. We take it from the life of Jesus. Yesterday's Jesus, today's Jesus. We take it from the words of the apostles. We start there and we live out racial reconciliation from that place, and then we let Jesus run through our lives with His Word. And we work it out, and we work it out, and we work it out day by day. But we start with Jesus. Now, if we do it right, it might look something like this. Have you heard this?
Yes.
A Muslim, a Jew, a Christian, and an atheist all walk into a coffee shop. They talk, laugh, drink coffee, and become good friends. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. People, it's possible. People, it's possible. I don't want to do it. We have to do it.
Right. Amen.
You have to do it. It's God's general calling for us. Next up, our missional calling. Sounds very theological, doesn't it? What does it even mean? What's a missional calling? Have you heard this quote before by Frederick Buechner? He's an author and I call him a philosopher. your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. It's a great way to describe a missional calling. Koskela says, think of your missional calling as the mission statement of your life. It's the way God has wired you to serve in a particular, sustained way over a lifetime. Okay? Over a lifetime. So year after year after year after year, you're in this thing. I like to think of it as my personal calling. Missional calling, personal calling. It's the calling that God has given specifically to me based on who I am. And I use that to go out into the world and bring healing that God calls me to do. It's my personal calling. Typically, your missional calling lines up with your gifts, right? Lines up with your gifts. Involves something you're passionate about. Gives you joy. So, it's not necessarily a particular job or a career. Because look, me, I've had 3 careers. I've had multiple jobs. 3 careers. And they haven't all been the same work. But I did find a thread between everything. And you know what? I like to be a matchmaker. And I don't just mean in the lovey-dovey sense. Although Chrissy Draper, we're pretty good at that. And in Jim Blessing have us to thank for that. But you know, I just like figuring out who needs something and who has something and how I can put them together. And I tend to do that with the lens of the outsider or the marginalized person. So that's kind of been my bent as I've gone through these years. It's the best way I show up in the world. And you may have never given a thought to the idea of your missional calling or your personal calling, and that's totally fine. And, you know, God may nudge you towards it at some point, and I would just say, just start listening to the things that give you joy and the things that totally sap your strength. Like, oh God, please don't make me do that. Things that motivate you or demotivate you, you know, just listen to that. And then you might begin to see a thread through your life of what's leading you and what's calling you and what your gifting is to give back to this world. Now, if you think about it, you can probably quickly name someone in your life that has the absolute passion to be involved in race work. You can probably think of someone like that in your life. You know, they just really can't help themselves. They're in the work. It propels them forward. It motivates them. It rewards them. They just really can't help but be involved in it. There are people that have a calling like that. So we say, oh, well, they're called. They're called to that work. But I'm not. I'm not called to that work. Well, they're called to that work. You can look around this room. Can you find somebody? Somebody in this room that might be called to that work? We have a youngster in the group that's doing it. Miss Aisha. I see somebody in this room. I know other people in this room. Can you see them? I don't see everybody in this room, and that's fine. That's not the purpose. That's okay. I'm specifically talking about people with a clear calling to do this race work over the course of their lifetimes. Over the course of their lifetimes. Their passion, their energy, their desire draws them to it. God bless every one of you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for doing it. Thank you for bringing us along in it. Thank you for leading the way. Thank you for stepping into the ring. Thank you for being a voice. Thank you. It's hard. I know it's really hard. But thank you. Thank you for doing it. Now, some of us being involved in this work is just, well, that's scary. That is just scary. It may be so uncomfortable for us that we can barely open our mouths to speak about it. Which leads me to the third calling, our direct calling. Receiving a calling from God, a direct call, can be kind of an unusual thing.